All right, guys, welcome back to this month's Toolbox Talk. Today's topic, we are going to cover fire prevention and protection plan. But before we jump into that, we're going to go over some how we're doing on injuries and damages. But I do want to give a quick shout out to everybody that was involved with putting this year's Christmas in July party together. I had a great time. I think everybody else did. And plus, I won a very cool Yeti cooler. So thank you for everyone who put that together, and definitely looking forward to next year's event. All right, so we had three new hires that Michael onboarded the past couple of weeks. Jordan Bain joined Demi Thurber's team as a cashier at the 40 Highway location. Jason Deshawn joined Brad Crawford's maintenance department. I believe he is working as a mobile mechanic with Tim Green. And last but not least, Keller Stewart also joined Demi Thurber's team as a yard sales associate. So as always, if you guys see any of these three employees, definitely introduce yourself and let's help them out any way that we can. All right, so we are currently looking for to fill three positions: one diesel mechanic, one Class A CDL driver, and one Class B CDL driver. So if you guys know anybody with these qualifications and would be a good fit for Missouri Organic, definitely reach out to Michael Rodriguez in HR, and he'll see about getting him in here for an interview. All right, so we had a very rough month of July as far as equipment damage and repairs. The total for the month was $64,869. We had a complete replacement of a transmission on wheel loader 4231, which was $58,095. We also had a control panel screen on the Tiger depackager, which was a cost of $5,165. And we had a broken axle on semi truck 2303. That total cost on that was $1,608. So for the year, we are sitting at $94,492.53 of equipment damage. The previous year at this time, we were sitting at $117,506.93. So an improvement, but a lot of money going to damage equipment. All right, guys, like I said earlier, this month's Toolbox Talk video is going to go over fire prevention and our protection plan. If you guys have any questions, definitely reach out to me. If not, we will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.
Operating a facility like Missouri Organic Recycling means managing a massive, highly dynamic environment. We have standard office electronics running alongside heavy industrial machinery, all operating around huge piles of combustible organic materials. That specific combination of heavy equipment and dense organic matter carries a constant underlying risk across every single operational zone: the threat of a facility fire. To understand how we prevent it, we have to look at the science of how a fire actually starts. This diagram of the fire triangle shows the core requirements. For our daily operations, we have to focus on two primary elements: heat, which acts as an ignition source, and fuel. A fire happens the moment these two elements cross paths. A single momentary lapse, like leaving a frayed wire plugged in or tossing an oily rag in the wrong bin, forces heat and fuel together, causing an immediate ignition. The company's fire prevention plan exists to stop that intersection. It operates as a daily tactical playbook with one primary goal: keeping heat and fuel physically separated. We start by isolating the heat, the ignition sources. And in almost any workplace, the leading cause of fire is electrical system failure. Controlling that risk requires active observation. Employees must check cords for worn or frayed insulation and replace them immediately. Every extension cord must carry a UL or factory mutual approval label, and they can never be used as a permanent substitute for proper wiring. Portable electric heaters introduce intense, concentrated heat right into the workspace. Because of this, every portable heater requires explicit approval from the safety manager and must feature automatic tip-over protection that immediately shuts the unit off if it falls over. Open flames are strictly controlled. Smoking is entirely prohibited inside all company buildings and near flammable liquids, and is restricted exclusively to designated outside areas. By locking down these environmental hazards, we remove the stray sparks and faulty connections. We neutralize the first half of the fire equation. But if an ignition source does slip through, we have to ensure it has nothing to consume. That brings us to the second half of the equation, managing our potential fuel sources. Inside the facility, rigorous housekeeping is mandatory. Standard trash and recycling cannot be allowed to accumulate. Oily rags and waste, which can spontaneously combust, must be sealed inside approved metal containers with heavy lids. Outside, the spatial rules are absolute. This top-down blueprint illustrates the mandatory 25-foot clearance radius required around electric substations and unburied storage tanks. We maintain this zone completely free of cardboard, dry vegetation, and any other combustible debris. Highly volatile fuels, like flammable and combustible liquids, require even tighter controls. They must be stored in NFPA-approved safety containers and kept far away from any potential ignition source. Daily housekeeping physically starves potential fires. A stray spark that lands on a swept concrete floor simply burns itself out. There is, however, one scenario where heat and fuel are forced into the exact same space. Tasks like welding, cutting, and soldering, known as hot work, are the most dangerous operations performed on site. Because the risk is so high, these tasks require strict authorization and proper protective gear. Before the torch is ever lit, the area must be prepped. Surrounding combustible materials have to be completely wetted down or entirely shielded. A multi-purpose fire extinguisher must be physically present and immediately accessible in the exact location where the work is happening. And the vigilance doesn't end when the equipment is turned off. This timeline tracks the mandatory post-operation fire watch. A dedicated second person must observe the active work and then remain on site to inspect the area for a full 30 minutes after completion to catch any smoldering metal. When we cannot rely on distance to break the chain of fire, strict observation and immediate readiness become our only barriers against disaster. Despite all these protocols, we still have to plan for the worst-case scenario. When prevention fails, employees need to know how to deploy the ultimate failsafe, the correct fire extinguisher. You have to use the right tool for the specific fuel. This chart categorizes the three main classes of fire extinguishers. Column 1 outlines Class A, designed for common workplace combustibles like wood, paper, cloth, and plastics. Column 2 covers Class B. These extinguishers are formulated specifically to fight fires fueled by flammable liquids, oils, greases, and tars. Column 3 highlights Class C, reserved strictly for electrical fires involving appliances, wiring, or outlets. Because of the extreme risk of electrocution, you must never use water on a Class C fire. Identifying the right extinguisher is step 1. Step 2 is following the rules of engagement. You must only attempt to extinguish a fire if you are properly trained and if the fire is small enough for your equipment to handle. If you do discharge an extinguisher or find one that is unusable, you have to notify the safety manager immediately. The safety manager writes the prevention plan and provides the training, but the manual doesn't stop the sparks. A safe facility at Missouri Organic Recycling relies entirely on the choices every employee makes every day to keep heat and fuel apart.